Hey everyone, I'm kalimsiYT and welcome back to another video. And in today's speed build, I'm building a community college, and this will be completely functional in your game. This lot is the lot called Const Modern, which is in the world of Nordhaven, and that came with the Businesses and Hobbies expansion pack. So my vision for this lot is that it's a place for your Sims to go to essentially learn new skills and just be able to gain more knowledge in whatever field they choose. After your Sim graduates high school, or if they graduate high school, you can either go into the workforce and get a job right away, or you can go through university. And university can be really fun, but it's also so much work, and it's like, I think at minimum like a good 3 weeks of like real time in game, which is a significant portion of your Sims lifespan, especially if you play on shorter ones like I usually tend to. I'm gonna be honest, I've never actually finished university in my game. Like, I've had Sims like go through it, but I've always burnt out. I've been burnt out on the university process, and I've never actually had my Sims finish university, which is kind of bad, but it's just a lot. Anyways, so if you don't want your Sims to go through that process, and you also don't want your Sims to just kind of go straight into the workforce without really having any skills, I feel like this would be a good lot to send them. So there's going to be 4 different buildings on here, with each of them having classrooms and different activities for your Sims to do, and they have a bunch of different skills that your Sims should be able to learn and then hopefully be able to take into the workforce whenever they are ready to join it. And then this is also, I mean, this applies to really any Sim of any age can come here, like adult and onward, or teen and onward, I'd imagine. I didn't really have any skills catered towards kids for this lot because I figured they would probably get that from school or whatever after school activity they are doing. But I feel like this is more for adult Sims that want to learn something new, get a new skill, or just be able to pick up something new that they wouldn't be able to in their normal job or whatever else that they may be doing. So I have, I think, a total of 6 or 7 different classrooms on this lot. And they should be able to host a bunch of different skills, such as charisma, acting, entrepreneurship, and then there's like an art room where there's painting and pottery. There's a fabrication room where your Sims can do woodworking and just fabrication, a science room for robotics, a music room for all the different instruments that your Sims can play. There's a history classroom, and there's also a computer room. And I might be missing one, but I don't know. We'll see as the video progresses if I did actually end up making more. But off the top of my head, I think that's how many there are. So yeah, a lot of different things for your Sims. And if you were to download this lot and want to convert some of the classrooms into specific skills that I don't have, that's totally something that you can go in and do pretty easily. Those are just the ones that I thought would be pretty well versed for my game, as well as like what I assume most people would want. But yeah, that's definitely something that can be changed. And one thing you can notice right now about this lot is that there are 5 buildings that I'm currently building. And I ended up getting rid of the 5th building because I was thinking about it, and in gameplay, this lot is kind of big and your Sims are probably going to be all over. And so having another building for them to kind of navigate in could be a lot time-wise for you to do, but then also only a certain number of townies can generate on a lot at a time, and so I didn't want to have all of these big buildings and then not have a lot of Sims actually populate them whenever your Sim comes and visits. So I figured that having less of those buildings would make it feel more full and alive, and so that's why I got rid of it. Also, I was just kind of struggling with getting the style right on it, so it just made everything a lot easier, and there's a courtyard in its place instead. So since I decided to get rid of that 5th building, I tried to cut out the building process of it as much as possible, since it didn't end up being in the final product. And also, this video is really long, so yeah, grab a snack if you haven't already. Maybe put me in the background while you're playing Sims, because this is a long one. And yeah, I didn't want to include any more footage than I had to because of that, so I got rid of that 5th building that didn't end up making it in the final cut. I also didn't include any of the bathroom furnishings or the hallways in the building, but like at the very end of the video, I'm going to do a video tour kind of going through this whole lot instead of screenshots, and so you'll be able to see them there and see what they look like. So I really don't think it's that bad. I just don't want this video to be super duper long because no one wants to watch that. I feel like this is already kind of pushing it. I think it's at like 45 or 50 minutes at the time of me recording this voiceover, and it may end up being shorter or longer depending on what I decide to do after I'm done recording this, but I think that's how long it is, which is, it's pretty substantial size. It might be one of the longest videos I have yet on my channel. So I originally wasn't planning on buying the new expansion pack, Businesses and Hobbies, until it went on a 50% off sale, and that is usually my policy for pretty much every pack. However, I made an exception with this one, and the reason why is because one, it like takes a year roughly for the EA app to put the packs on sale for 50% off or higher, and I didn't really want to wait that long given that the new lock capabilities in the game kind of are a bit of a game changer, and that I can make whatever business I want to make with it. And so because of that, I was like, okay, it might be worth spending the money. And then my birthday was a couple of months ago, and one of the gifts I got was a like Visa gift card, like, you know, one of those little gift cards that you can kind of spend anywhere, like not just in a specific place. And so I used that for this. So if you think about it, I didn't buy the pack, someone else bought it for me. So it just happens to be in my game now, which is fine. And from what I've been playing with it so far, I enjoy it. I'm gonna be honest, I haven't done a whole lot outside of just building this lot, but I have enjoyed what I have done so far, like running small businesses. I think it's gonna be really helpful for building in the future, just because I think it's a lot easier storytelling wise to be able to have the mechanics to set everything up in game. And I was a fan of the new like architecture style with like the windows and the doors for build mode, and so I used a decent amount of that in this build, if you can't tell. And so yeah, I've been enjoying it so far. I don't think I've discovered enough of it to really like have a good review yet of what I think of it. Maybe I will at some point, and I will let you guys know. But for right now, it seems good, but we'll see. As with most packs, I feel like there are a lot of bugs that you kind of uncover as you play it. Actually, I have been having a bit of a bug issue, not with the pack itself, but as of the day I'm recording this voiceover, which is April 30th, I think an update just came out recently, and so every time I try to open the library in my game crashes. And so it was really frustrating earlier when I was trying to like take screenshots and record the video tour for this build, because I wanted to use a specific version of the build from the library, and not the one that was like currently on my lot. And I couldn't do that because every time I did, it crashed the game, and I removed my mods folder and everything, and I don't know what's going on. And so I'm just going to ignore the problem for a few days, and then hopefully the next time I log into the game to build, it's fixed, because I just don't want to deal with that really. I'm troubleshooting. I mean, no one really wants to troubleshoot games, but I especially don't want to, and I just did not have the patience for it today. So that's a later me problem to deal with. But yeah, if you're looking back at the build right now, you can see that I'm kind of working on this building in the back corner, and there's a bridge kind of leading to the building in the front. And the building in the back corner, I kind of have it set up as like a student union or a student center. And so in there I have a little cafeteria area where your Sims can get a bite to eat in between classes or get some coffee. And then on the first level I have a campus bookstore, and I feel like most schools have one of these that you have, or you can just buy like merch or swag for the college you go to, as well as some school supplies. And so in order to make it somewhat functional and not just like a little decorative room, I went into debug, and I found that in the Discover University debug, there is like this booth, and in the booth you can buy school supplies while your sim is on campus, and that's what it's meant for. But I was able to take the booth and put it in the bookstore, so hopefully in gameplay your sims will be able to just go and click on that booth and hit order school supplies, and then they'll have to go into the bookstore in order to get to there. And when I was playtesting it, I didn't run into any issues with it, so it should be good. And then I also have mannequins that I have with preset outfits, so your sims could technically buy like community college merch for it if they wanted to. So that's something that's kind of cool, but that's where I was kind of having the trouble with in terms of like saving everything to the library. So the version that I have of this lot saved to the library should have the mannequin outfits exactly how they're supposed to be. I designed 5 different ones and they should be there. However, in gameplay, and you will see this in the video tour at the end of the video, for some reason the mannequin outfits got like mixed up, and so they're not how they should be, and I can't really fix it because my game crashes, like I said. So I'm gonna trust that it'll upload to the gallery correctly, and if not, I'm sorry, but I just don't have the patience to deal with it right now. This game is so incredibly buggy, and like I feel like I can work with it to an extent, but I'm just not in the mood today, and that's that. So I guess a little bit of lore about me is that I actually went to a community college for a year after I graduated high school, and I used it to get transfer credits. So I took some classes that were a lot cheaper, and they were actually free for me. I was very lucky. I was able to do something in high school where I could get 2 years of free community college. I only ended up using a year of that, and then I transferred to a university where I currently go to school, but only for a few more weeks because I graduate very soon. Anyways, yeah, so I went to community college for a year, and it looked nothing like this one. It was a much more, I think it was like a much more like modern-ish type of building. I actually went to 2 different campuses depending on the classes I needed to take, and so because the overarching community college had like multiple schools, and then so you could go to different campuses and whatever for certain classes. So one of them, it was just like one big building, and I was like kind of nice when it was like cold outside because then I wouldn't have to walk from place to place, but it did kind of feel like high school too, in a sense that like I was just kind of in the same building for like the entire day, just going to different classes throughout the halls, and that was cool, but I didn't want to do that for this build. I wanted to have the multiple building aspect to it because I feel like it makes it look a bit nicer and it just feels better. And yeah, so the other campus I went to, that one had multiple buildings, and so I did kind of draw just a little bit of inspiration, less of like the building appearances. I actually do have inspo pics that I found online of like old college buildings that I'll put up on the screen so you guys can see what I was kind of looking at while I was doing the exterior, but I think I got inspiration for that more from like what the school had. So like the bookstore, I don't think it had like a little cafeteria area, but I wish it did. So I wanted to include that in my version of the community college, and yeah, I had a pretty good experience doing that, and I'm really glad I did it in the long run. You save a lot of money, especially in America, and I guess this is probably the place in other countries. I don't know how college works there, but at least in America, a lot of people go into a lot of student loan debt. But I think going to community college is a pretty slept-on way of avoiding some, if not all, of that student loan debt, at least here in the States. So yeah, if you are ever in that situation and wanting, or you're having to make a decision, I would recommend community college. It's pretty cool. But yeah, I guess in The Sims, that's not really how it works. I think a semester at like Ubright or Foxbury is like 1,000 simoleons, and you can take out loans, but at least in my experience, most of the times whenever my Sims have had to pay for it, they have enough household funds to easily just be able to pay off the tuition pretty easily. So that's nice. I wish that was the case in real life. It's kind of weird how The Sims scales it, because I feel like some things in the game, like certain build mode items, are super duper expensive, and so you would think like going to college in the game would also be expensive, but it's not really compared to other things, which is surprising. It's a good thing. I'm not complaining. Saves my Sims money, and I guess they don't really have to deal with debt like in real life, but yeah. So I think I built this lot over the course of about a week or so, which I think given the size of it isn't super bad. It usually takes me like multiple sessions to do a build anyways. I'm a pretty slow builder, but I've been having a lot more free time recently, so it made it easy to work on this. I think I mentioned a few minutes ago that I'm graduating pretty soon, and so this semester has been pretty easy for me since it's my last one. I was only in 9 credit hours to begin with, and in case you don't know, 12 credit hours is like considered full-time. And so I'm not even a full-time student technically, and so I've already been having a decent amount of free time this semester, but then one of my classes finished up all of the coursework, and I already, like a nerd, went in and I turned in all the assignments and the final early, so like I'm just completely done with that class, and so that means I only have 2 classes now, and one is Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then the other is Tuesday, Thursday, and they're both like an hour long. So pretty much I just go to class for like an hour a day, and the rest of the day is mine to kind of do what I want with it. And it's pretty cool being in this unique position because it allows me to kind of work on hobbies a lot more. So for like I've been playing the game a lot more and doing this whole YouTube thing just because I've had the time to, and that's been pretty nice. I've also been doing like sewing, sourdough bread making. I think I've talked about these hobbies in other videos. I've been going to the gym, and it's kind of a unique time in my life where like I don't think I'll ever get this much free time again, which is like, it's really nice that I have it. I'm like so stoked that I've been able to have this, but at the same time it's also kind of scary thinking about the fact that like a little over a month from now I will never have this much free time again, because so I'm gonna graduate mid-May, and then I have a month off, and then I start my full-time job in mid-June. So that gives me like 4 weeks of freedom, and that'll be really cool, and I'm excited for that, but it is also scary knowing that I won't have that time, and like it'll be fine. I think a lot of people manage, balance and like with their hobbies and working 40 hours a week, but I think it will be a bit of an adjustment, especially since I will be wanting to continue with this, and so finding the time for that. I'll probably do the bulk of my Sims work on weekends, I'm anticipating, but we'll see. I guess I won't know kind of how that situation is until I get into it. One other thing I've been kind of doing this semester, or at least attempting to do, is I've been attempting to like grow out my fingernails, because I am a really bad nail biter, and I've been trying to break that habit. And so like in January I was like, you know what, I have the time to paint my nails and make them look nice, so I'm just going to grow them out. Like I'm done biting them, and I like did really good. I got like I think a whole like 8 weeks or so almost like 2 months, and then I relapsed one day and I bit all of them off, and yeah, now I am trying to still recover from that. I went like a few weeks where I was just like kind of operating them as normal, and where I was biting them, and now I got like a new nail polish, because like a lot of my nail polishes too, I don't know if anyone else struggles with this, but they get like goopy after a certain amount of time, and it makes it really hard to apply it, and I was kind of running that issue, so I bought a new nail polish that is new and not goopy, and I've been using that to grow out my nails more, and I've probably like, I'm only like a few days into like this new attempt, but like I did it for 8 weeks already, so hopefully I can keep that up, and I think it will be fine. It's just, this is a silly topic to talk about on the speed build, but I've been painting my nails a lot recently, so I guess it's been a decent portion of my life, because every time it like starts to chip, that's when I go crazy and I start to pick at my nails or bite at them, and so if my nails look perfect all the time, then I don't do that, and so I've had the time to make them look pretty perfect most of the time, and so yeah, I'm just still trying to grow them out. We're gonna see how that goes. Silly little life update, but it's just something that I'm working on, and I've been talking over a decent amount of what's going on in the build. So you can see, or you did see, that I worked on the landscaping a bit, and I wanted to make the campus look pretty, like someone upkeeps it. And so yeah, I didn't include all of the landscaping in this video, especially the landscaping on like the sides or the backs of the building, because those are there just to make the lot not look weird, but it's it's not what's really important. But I wanted to keep in the landscaping for the courtyards and the different walkways. So you saw that. You also saw me furnish the courtyard, and in there I made sure to include some different activities for your Sims to do. So there's some garden beds, so they can plant some stuff in there. There is also a selling table, so if your Sim makes something and wants to sell it, they can do that there. And this technically isn't functional, but I really wanted to include it, is the career day table from the high school years expansion pack. And a lot of times, at least my experience in college, is that you will just be minding your own business, walking to class, and then someone at some table will try and get your attention to get you to join something, sign a petition, or to donate, or do whatever. And so I thought that it'd be really fitting for like a table like that to be on the college campus. So I put a couple of those tables down because they kind of look like informational little booths that your Sims could look at. And yeah, so I also put down a towel so your Sims can like tan, I guess. I see that sometimes on my campus. If it's nice out, I'll be walking in like the quad or other areas. There will be people laying out and tanning and like reading a book or whatever. And so I put that there too, just for fun. And I also think the entire first building, which if you look at the lot straight on, it's the one on the very right at the front. And so that one I put in an auditorium, and I wanted it to be like kind of similar to a traditional college auditorium, and that it has like stage leveling, or it's split leveled. So you go in and then there's a row of desks, and then you go down a platform and there's another row of desks, and then going down another platform, that is where the board is for your Sims to teach the class. And I didn't put any special skill building objects in there other than the debate podiums, because I don't know, I guess I kind of assumed, or I imagined, that classroom could be used for the research and debate skill. But given that like is the only thing in there, you can really use that one for a wide variety of different skills that don't require a certain object associated with it. So I feel like that's probably the most versatile classroom to use in gameplay. And then upstairs, that is where the woodworking and the fabricating table classroom is. So your Sims should be able to do all sorts of different fabrication in there. I didn't end up including the candle making tables. I had thought about it, but I just didn't have enough room, and I thought your Sims could probably benefit more from woodworking because it is like a more versatile skill. And so I put that in, and I found a lot of items of like tools and debug that I imagine Sims would use while learning there, which I thought was pretty fun. And now what I'm currently furnishing is the art room, and I think this is probably my favorite classroom on the entire lot. And it's kind of broken up into like two different sections. So on one side is the pottery section, where your Sims can use the pottery wheel and shape the different crafts and whatever, and then use the kiln. And then on the other side is some easels for painting. And so you should be able to do both in gameplay and teach those different classes in there. And what I really like about this art classroom is just all the different clutter and decorations I put in with it. And so like right next to the kiln, there's a table, and I put a bunch of pottery pieces on it because I kind of imagine maybe those are finished projects that students need to pick up. And same with that shelf right by the board, maybe some finished projects that either students need to pick up, or like their example ones that the professor shows whenever they're about to craft a new thing. And then on the painting side, I found these paintbrushes in debug, and I placed them over by the sink, and I put like different stuff there that I imagine like after they're done with a project they have to clean up their mess, obviously. And so that's where they did that. And yeah, I'm pretty happy with how it ended up turning out. And like I said, this is probably one of my favorite classrooms that I ended up furnishing. I also really liked the science room, which we should be getting to pretty soon because that's in the same building as this as well. So I mentioned earlier that I didn't include this portion of the speed build like in the actual video, but I did furnish the hallways and the little like common areas in the buildings as well, and I ended up kind of struggling with those a little bit. You'll see them in the final video like I mentioned earlier, but it's just kind of hard to figure out what to put there because I don't want it to look empty. But at the same time, like, it's not like your Sims are really gonna be spending a lot of time there. And so I made sure to put vending machines in every single building except for the one where your Sims can actually buy food, because also in gameplay, having your Sim walk all the way across the lot to get food can be kind of inconvenient sometimes. And so having the vending machine there is helpful so your Sims can get a quick snack. And I put some benches down, and the ticket kiosk, I think I also mentioned, is in every single building. So if you do want to turn this into a small business lot, you should be able to do so, because right now it is a community space which came with the eco lifestyle expansion pack, and I only have it set so that like it meets the requirements for the community space portion of the lot. It doesn't meet like the other different community spaces that you can vote and like transform the lot into. So yeah, there's that. But if you did want to run this as a small business, like, I don't know, let's say you were like the dean or professor or something like that, you should be able to use the kiosk for every building that your Sims can check into, and they should be able to like get their lessons. I think if I were you and I was playing it as a small business, I would probably have it set so that they get charged by the hour instead of just like an admittance fee, because depending on how many classes they're taking, you know, it should be more expensive for that. So the longer they're here, the more theoretical classes they are taking. So yeah, that's probably the way I would set it up. And now if you're looking in the build, you can see that I'm furnishing the science room, and I also really liked how this one came out as well. I have the different counters I kind of imagine as like lab counters that your Sims would do labs at in the game, and I put some debug stuff all over the room. So like in the Discover University debug, I found like all the different robots you can make, and so I plopped those there, I imagine, for display. Get to Work came in handy too. I was able to put like those test tubes on there, as well as the little skeleton in the front. I imagine that maybe be for like a biology class or something like that. But I really like this one. I think that if your Sims need to, you know, practice the robotic skills, this would be a pretty good place to do that at, especially given that you usually can't do that unless you are enrolled in university. And I think you have to visit like the Foxbury Commons in order to get access to a robot station in the game. So this gives your Sim a way to do that without there being like a barrier behind it. And that was kind of like the main goal for a lot of these things, like the pottery wheels and the fabrication tables and the robotics table, is it's just like a nice central location to use certain skill building objects in the game so that you don't have to go into build mode and get it, which is like, I think it's gonna be like really nice, especially if you're doing like a rags to riches, or really just any household where you're not cheating money and money may be kind of tight. You can't always afford to go into build mode and to get your Sim like a new skill building object. So just having a lot to go to where that's already there for you is pretty nice. And yeah, now you can see that I have moved on into the bookstore, and in the corner of that room you can see where I shoved that booth that I mentioned earlier where your Sims can buy school supplies, and you can see the mannequins that I have been putting in. And I went to create a Sim and I designed the outfits for all of them, and I tried to make it so that the Sims have like almost like merch on them, if that makes sense, that like you could buy from the school. And I decided that the school colors is blue, and I kind of came to that conclusion because I think the University of Brightchester in the game is green and yellow, and then Foxbury is red, and so I felt like that just kind of left blue. And so yeah, that's what I kind of modeled a lot of my stuff around. And then in just a second, you'll see I'll put in a fifth mannequin, and that one has like the grad cap and gown, because I imagine if you're going to graduate, you probably need to buy that. I just had to buy mine, which sucks that that's not free, but it is what it is. And I also put down, this isn't functional, but you can see in like this little display in the front, I have some laptops, because, you know, maybe your Sim needs to buy a laptop for school, or some backpacks, or some other books. Your Sims actually can't buy those in the game. It's just for display, but I think it's fun to pretend. You may be able to buy them in like that booth that's in the corner of the room. That might be possible, but not through the display. I wish you could have a retail lot on a small business lot, and I guess you kind of can with the different displays. Like I think if you were to go in a small business and set up like for Sims to buy things, if you put them on like specific objects, they'll buy those objects. But I wish you could have the retail functionality similar to Get to Work with the small business like on the same lot. Like you could almost have like dual lot types or just like multi-lot types. I think would be really nice just to have in the game in general, because sometimes I want my lot that I'm on to be like a restaurant and a bar, or like a retail place and a lounge, or something like that. And that was just really nice, instead of me having to go into build mode and manually like switch the lot type to something else in order to change it to where like the situation is appropriate. I think that would be a lot easier. Knowing the Sims team, they'll probably do that and then put it in a $40 expansion pack for you to buy, but that's fine, I guess. It's really not, but it is what it is at this point. I was thinking about this the other day, and it's like, we're never gonna get The Sims 5. And that's like, I don't know, that kind of made me a little bit sad. I love this game. I spent a lot of money on this game, and I put thousands of hours into it, but just the fact that like this will probably be, I guess, like it for at least single player Sims games is, I don't know, it is a little saddening, because I feel like the perfect Sims game in my eyes is the gameplay of The Sims 2 with the open world and creative style of The Sims 3, and then the graphics of The Sims 4 and the build mode of The Sims 4. I feel like if you were to put all of those functionalities together into one, I would go crazy. That would be, I think, the best thing ever. And it's like something where it's like those things were possible in the previous installments, so I don't really see why they weren't carried over into this one originally. I know that The Sims 4 was originally supposed to be multiplayer, and so whenever like the EA released like the Sim City game that ended up flopping in like 2014, and that got a lot of backlash, they decided to pivot and just make it like a single player one. And so because of that, the engine for the game isn't built like how it should have been. So like I know that's why it is the way it is, but it is still kind of disappointing that they didn't go back and fix it or release a new addition to the game. But yeah, I like The Sims 4. I don't think I'll ever stop playing it. I've been building for like over 10 years now in the game, which is weird to say that I've been playing this game for over a decade, but I have been, and I'm still not bored yet. I don't know if I will get bored, given that I always feel like there's something new to build. I can't say I actually play the game a whole lot in live mode. That is something I don't do super often. And it's not that I like don't want to, but like I just have, personally, I have a lot more fun just building. And I can find it kind of boring, the actual gameplay. I know some people like don't have that issue, or they'll use mods to fix it, and I've thought about venturing into that, but I don't really have the time to do it either. Now that I'm really like working on, this channel a lot more, I kind of just want to focus most of my playing the game on building new things instead of me like in my own time playing. I do have a current household that I do occasionally visit, but I don't really want to record that and upload that, just because I feel like a video of me just playing The Sims, like actually playing the game and doing like a Let's Play series, I feel like it's kind of boring and no one would really want to watch that. But I think the builds are entertaining, at least for me. I find my builds to be entertaining, but that's also on YouTube what I find to be entertaining. Like I don't really watch Let's Plays in my own time, but I do watch a lot of different videos of people building in this game, and so I kind of want my channel to reflect the different interests that I have for the game. So yeah, that's why I don't really play the game a whole lot. It's something I want to do more, and I think as I kind of build this save file and I put more lots in it, I will probably be more inclined to play the game, given that I have everything set up for it. I was looking at my progress a couple weeks ago on how much I've done on the save file, and I've been working on this for over a year now, and I feel like I have a lot done, but I also don't have a lot done at the same time. Whereas like I've done a decent amount of lots that I'm happy with, and I've made some households, but I feel like they constantly keep adding new worlds into the game that whatever progress I make ends up being not like overshadowed, but it ends up not being as much as I think it is. Like, I feel like I'll take one step forward and then EA releases something and it's like 2 steps back. And I looked and there's like 300 or 400 lots in the game, and that's a lot to build, and I maybe have like 30 or 40 of those done. And 30 or 40 builds within a year or so I feel like isn't bad, especially given that like I'd like to think I put a lot of detail into my builds, and so it takes some time. I'm also in general just a slow builder, so it takes a decent amount of time. Like this lot, like I said, took me a week, and that's fine. I'm happy with how it turned out, and I want all of my builds to be of this quality or better, and so that's gonna take time, and I don't know if I will ever actually go and finish everything. I would like to. My goal is to at least finish different worlds. So like I have a decent amount of Willow Creek done, and I also have a decent amount of Brightchester done, and I would like to get both of those different worlds fully fleshed out, where I have all of the Sims made, all of their skills and their relationships set. But then my goal eventually is that all of the worlds and the Sims will overlap, so like different Sims will know each other in different worlds, or like maybe like different families will be separated from different worlds for whatever reason. So that is something that's a very long-term goal, like probably years in the future. It's going to take me a long time to do it, but it is a goal that I have. However, if I do end up finishing the worlds like individually, I would be down to go and just release those. And I've also been trying to work on a way to track my progress better so that I can like quantify it. I'm currently working on an Excel spreadsheet for that, just so I can kind of like see right in front of me like how much I've gotten done and how much I have left. And whenever I'm done with that spreadsheet, I do want to make a video about it and to like go through it. I don't know when that will be, but whenever I get around to it, I'll do it. So yeah, I've also been talking over more of the build again, and so now this is like the final building, like the main building that I've been working on. And in here I already finished furnishing the history classroom, and I pulled out some items from Debug for that, from the Jungle Adventure and the Snowy Escape pack, just because I felt like those packs have like probably the most culture based objects in the game that your Sims can learn about, and at least those packs are the ones in my game that have that. There might be more that I just don't have those packs, so I don't know about it. So yeah, I put those in there, and I imagine that maybe the community college got those different lots, or not lots, got those different objects through one way or another, and so they display them there. And then I also worked on the library, and I made sure to put those research archive machines in there, which came with Discover University. So your Sims should be able to do research, and included some different study areas and bookshelves, so that should be fully functional. And then up here I'm doing a computer room, and I know you can teach the programming skill in here, and I know there are other skills on the computer as well that your Sims can learn, but I'm currently blanking on what those are. One thing I did try to do in most of the classrooms is I put like the no phone picture from Snowy Escape on there in most of them as a kind of way to be like no cell phones during class or something like that. I guess, in college, like it's not like super regulated. Like I think in a lot of my syllabi, there are like technically like you shouldn't have your phone out during class, and I don't for the most part. I do pay attention, but I see people with it all the time, and professors never do anything about it. So I imagine that this is pretty similar, where it's like stated like, hey, maybe put your phone away during class, but who knows if the Sims actually do it. And this room that I'm working on right now, this is a game room, and so I have the chess tables, and I put like the board game and puzzle table from Growing Together down as well. And I kind of just imagine maybe your Sims have some off time in between classes, they can come and just hang out and play some games here. And as for the name of this community college, I came up with a lot of names for it, but then as I was going to type it in, I kept hitting the character limit. And so I ended up calling it Bright Community College, like BRITE, and there's two reasons for that. One is because this lot is currently in Nordhaven, but I think for my save file, I'm going to actually move it to Brightchester, and I'm going to put it in the Laurel Library spot that lot is in, because, I mean, no one really uses the library. At least I don't in my gameplay, and I feel like this would be a better use of it, like having almost like a third school that your Sims can go to, but it's not like technically university. So I think that's what I'm gonna do, and I like the lore I kind of came up with to justify that is that maybe the University of Brightchester decided to donate some money and build like an off-campus or a campus affiliated establishment that's like a community college, so it's like you can still get education, but it's not like full-on university. So that's what I imagine is going on in my head, and that's why it's like that. I haven't actually plopped this lot in Brightchester yet, but it will probably, I'd say pretty high chance that in my actual save file, this is where that lot's gonna go. But yeah, that's why it's called that. I wanted to like do a better name, but I unfortunately did not have the space for that given the character limit. And yeah, now we're getting to the end of this build. I think I'm just furnishing up some offices here, and I'm gonna go ahead and I'll take you through the game in just a moment and give you a video tour of the final product. All right, we are at the lot right now. This is Bright Community College, all finished up. And you can see that I have the 4 buildings here that I built, as well as the courtyard area to the side. And I'm just going to take you through a few of the buildings. So this first building, I kind of imagined it to be like just a general lecture building. We have a hallway whenever you walk in, or just a lobby, and in every building I made sure to include the ticket kiosk, so that way if you did want to change this lot from a community space to a small business, you can easily run that here. And then this is the big auditorium, and I kind of imagined that this is where like writing, acting, entrepreneurship, those skills would be kind of taking place here in this one. Upstairs, there's a bit of a lobby studying area, a bathroom, and then this is where like the woodworking or fabrication classroom is taking place. And that is all for the first one. Now, directly across from the lot, whenever you go in, there's another hallway here as well, and it has some lockers. I imagine this is where the art students kind of put their belongings in, some vending machines, and then this is the art classroom, and I'm pretty proud with how this one turned out. You can see here I have the pottery section where there are the different wheels, and then the kiln with this decorative table display. I kind of imagine this is where the finished pieces go, and then on the other side is stuff for painting. So you should be able to teach both skills in here, and a little counter where they're theoretically supposed to clean up their mess. Upstairs we have another little hallway area, and then this is the music classroom, and I have piano and some guitars and violins in here, so you should be able to teach your Sims all about music. I don't think they'll actually be able to play these in game unless you were to set them out in place of the desks, but you can just do that in build mode. And then over here in this back classroom, this is kind of what I imagine to be the science lab. So I have a big focus on the robotics skill in here, as well as some of just the other general science stuff that you can teach. And yeah, that is this building. Also, if you can see here, like these different lines sticking out, in gameplay, those go away. These are just like the footprints for the whiteboards. So it may just look a little bit weird here when I'm in build mode, but I promise that won't show up in your game. Now, if we were to cross the bridge here into this next building, this is what I imagine to be kind of the student center or student union. And so whenever you walk in, it's just a small lobby. And then this is the university bookstore. I've been having trouble getting the mannequins to show as the ones that I like populated in build mode. And the version of this lot that I have saved to the gallery should have the mannequins in their correct outfits. However, in my game, it's not translating, and every time I try to open the library, my game crashes. And so for this video tour, I wasn't able to get the mannequins dressed how they're supposed to, but in theory, your Sims should be able to come in here and purchase swag. I think they can go in and purchase these outfits in live mode as well, and then purchase books for their classes. And I have this little booth here, the U-Bright booth, and this is a debug item from Discover University. But if your Sim clicks on this, they should be able to actually go in and buy university-related items for their students. So it's just a reason to come to this room on the lot. There's another bathroom over here. And then up here is the cafeteria area where your Sims can get a bite to eat after having some classes. Just a few tables, nothing crazy over here. And then this last building, I kind of imagined as the administration building, as well as just some other miscellaneous classrooms. So again, walk in, and it's just another lobby area with a small bathroom. And then down here we have what I imagine to be the history classroom. I have these archaeology tables in here. However, whenever I was play testing it, it looks like your Sims can't actually use it because they don't technically own the item. However, the footprint for the whiteboard is big enough so that all of these desks will be included within it. So you should still be able to teach like the archaeology skill in here if you wanted to. I just don't think these tables will be able to be interacted with. And then over here is the library. I have some bookshelves, some places for your Sims to sit and read, as well as the different research archive machines that come with Discover University. So your Sims can conduct research in this room. And then upstairs, another little lobby. This is the computer classroom, so you can teach programming and whatever other computer skill you want in here. And then this is what I imagine to be a little game room. You can play chess, some board games or puzzles. And lastly, as we go across the hallway, this is what I imagine to be like the administration or office area where staff works. And then this is the dean's private office. And at the very corner of the lot, this is the courtyard. And so down here, I have a statue and then a selling table for your Sims to sell things at. I imagine that these career day tables from high school years are kind of informational booths that Sims would get knowledge or information about different orgs on campus from. I have a bike rack and a towel for your Sims to tan. And then lastly, the community board is here, which is what makes it functional as a community space. So if you're going to keep it as a community space, make sure to keep this board here so your Sims can vote on action plans. But if you do decide to change it, you don't need this here. And I also have some garden beds as well. And so yeah, I think this is it for the build. It is going to be on the gallery under my EA account ID, kalimsiYT, and the spelling for that is in the description. So if you enjoyed the video and the build, feel free to give this video a like, a comment, or maybe even subscribe if you're feeling silly, and I will see you in the next one. Bye everyone.